How's it going? Sorry, I'm a little late. I had an incident with the cat. He jumped on me and he kind of like fell
Uh-huh.
as he jumped on, and he like landed like on his throat. So he
Oh,
was kind of like thought he was gonna die. He was like I
oh,
never seen him like off that way before. I was a little concerned, but he's all good. He's all good.
oh,
Um, but anyway, yeah, I just finished up work. So how's it going, man?
good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Feels like it's been a minute.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you were in a different state the last time I spoke to you. So
Still adjusting. Yeah.
how did your trip home go?
It was good. Well, wait a minute. Didn't we have a pod since we've been back?
No. Mm-mm. It
Oh
just feels
shit!
it just feels like it. But yeah, I mean,
It just feels like it.
you had a whole
Wow.
drive home.
It's this daylight saving time that's throwing me off. Cheap excuse. No, sorry. Yeah. So nothing super sexy to report, but good drive back. We did it all one go, which was cool. I think it was like 14 hours and change. We had the cat in tow, so no, it was great. We got lucky both ways because it was like dry and cold, but like dry, and roads weren't too busy, so it was good. We listened to about 8 million podcasts and different things like that, bunch of tunes, all that jazz, road trip. But yeah, it was good. It's good to be back though.
It looks like you did a little bit of riding as well, right?
Yeah, got a few rides since I've been back, which has been good. And tomorrow, Joe, I don't know if you saw the forecast.
Mm-hmm. No,
I did. Nice.
Is it supposed to be? You know what? I stopped paying attention. They told us like, I mean, I've seen everything from 6 to 8 inches of snow to rain, and it's been all over the place. And none of it has really come to pass. So it's just been I just decided to look out the window and whatever it is that day, then I kind of roll with it. But we've had starts and stops here. And we had a couple of weeks ago, we had some pretty decent weather, and then all hell broke loose at the bike shop.
Smarch.
Yeah. It's when I think the last time we did a podcast, we had I sold some bikes that weekend, and people were coming in and buying stuff. And then this weekend, Sunday was like snow on the ground and cold, and it felt like the heart of winter again. So we're just at that time of the year where for us, it's hard to get into a groove. You get yourself all psyched up for the start of the season, or you try to get yourself kind of rolling, and then you get one of those days. Oh yeah, where it's just kind of like, oh man, now what's happening? So
yeah, exactly. I'm out there like an idiot.
I saw you.
I'm just doing my stupid thing. But you know what though? The coolest thing about riding right now is there's no one out there. Like very few people. There are a few people like me, like fools or hardcore trainers or somewhere in between. But like so the bike path, like the lakefront path I've been riding, which isn't usually my go-to because it gets so crowded, of course, but it's been really, really nice. There are just a handful of runners, a couple of bikers, usually commuters or whatever. So that's been really sweet. You kind of have it to yourself. And then the North Branch Trail I hit up Saturday for like a nice spin. I went up to Skokie Lagoons and just kind of noodled up and back. It was real nice out. Like it was like in the 30s, but I was dressed right. So, I got all that gear now. So it was good. But you have this whole trail to yourself. Like I probably saw like 6 bikers to and from the whole way. So that's kind of sweet. Like it's like you have it to yourself. No messing about. So
well, you're brave enough to get out there. You deserve it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Stupid enough, brave enough. It's a fine line sometimes. It's just if you're dressed right. I mean, I don't know. Me. I like the cold.
No, I know.
I do well in the cold.
I'm surrounded by people that like the cold, and in the woods, we get people that like to just go out where the bike shop is. Well, we're a bike shop, so we get them. It's just people. Yep. People do come through, but especially where we're situated, we have a bike path across the street, and we have the woods, and people like playing in the cold. I have a lot of customers that enjoy it. They like it. They kind of thrive in it, and I have a regular visitor to the shop. Who, in fact, he was in yesterday.
Peter?
No, a guy named Ari, a friend of mine, a bicycle mechanic, and
cool.
And he was riding bootless. No booties, no shoe covers, nothing. I mean, he was just regular shoes, and just kind of talking about how it's his preferred way of riding, and
wow,
how it's got to be really cold in order for him to put something on. And it was cold. I mean, it was cold and wet. The wet is what got me. And he was claiming to be fine. It was just normal for him. And he's the kind of guy who rides. I think he said he rode every day last year. So
wow,
where he spent some time on a bike outdoors every day of the year last year. So he's that kind of a guy.
That's impressive.
It is impressive. I mean, that it's
just to touch your bike every day, let alone get out on rides.
Yeah. I mean, he's there is a group of guys in Chicago who ride on Tuesday nights. Called the ride is called It's Turbo Tuesday. Are you familiar with them?
No.
So they ride. They meet every Tuesday, and they've been riding all winter. So all winter long, no matter what, on a Tuesday night, you'd find them, and they meet in your neighborhood. So I believe they meet in Logan Square. So
what are they called?
I should hook you up with those.
Turbo Tuesdays?
It's Turbo Tuesday. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, they're mutual friends. I mean, they're friends of friends. I don't know them personally, but I have my friend Ari's good friends with them, and I believe some of them follow us on the social network, on our social network. Yeah, they did a ride. I think they did a New Year's ride or a Christmas ride, some sort of Kenosha ride in, like bitter cold conditions. You weren't in town. I don't think you were in town when that was going down. Maybe it was a New Year's Day ride, but those, I think I'll do some of their rides.
I just found them. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do some of their rides during the, when it's a little warmer.
Very cool. Yeah. I just found them on, TikTok was the first big result that came up. So, wow, this is great. Thanks for this tip. I just followed them on Strava as well. Cool. So yeah, their tagline here says "Adventure and Gravel Cyclists out of Chicago, Illinois." Yeah,
they were just down at the
Mid-South
race.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, this looks like a really fun account. I'm gonna check these guys out. Maybe I'll try to join in with them.
Yeah. I think it's open to whoever wants to go. And so, I mean, if you're in the Chicago area, and you're like, they're hardcore, I mean, yeah. I think they're open to anybody. So, I mean, you're kind of welcome along, but they're the kind of guys that ride in rain and sleet and cold on a Tuesday night in December and January and February. So,
right.
If you're looking for like-minded people, there is a group out there. And, strong bike communities tend to have these groups floating around. I know in LA there's a group, there's a couple of groups like that have these kind of theme nights and night rides, and I think you might have fun going for a ride.
Yeah,
with those guys.
I'm gonna check them out. Very cool. What else have you been up to, man? How's everything at the shop? Looks like you got things are in motion, man. You got
there's a lot.
You got some hands there working and.
Yeah, things are, slowly getting back. It's starting to feel like a bicycle shop again, a little bit, so having have a mechanic there. I've had a mechanic working with me, which means I have to kind of get my shit together a little bit, because since I have been running it as a kind of basically one-man operation with a little bit of help, I didn't have to be buttoned up as much, I mean, I kind of knew where everything was, and I didn't have to worry about other people being able to, knowing where everything was. I certainly got a little bit sloppy with things. So, just getting the shop together so that I don't have to be around in order to get bikes worked on and know where everything is at, so labeling things. So it's been good. It's just getting the bike or the shop organized again and labeling things. And
you got your label maker out? Are you just like shooting everything? Like, because that's Sarah's big passion, is labeling things.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't have a label machine, but I got a lot of Sharpies and masking tape. So right now we're at that. It's just big sorting right now, and it's also just things that have been accumulated over the last 3 years. It's just we became a repair shop primarily. Selling whatever we could, but a lot of repair parts. We were hoarding a lot of bike parts and inner tubes and various things that we just bought a lot of because you didn't know if it was going to be available, later on. And, things got stashed and thrown in weird places, and, places that we used to have regular inventory just became storage and just became storage spaces. So right now it's a lot of sorting. It's just a lot of cleaning and getting things organized, which is kind of nice. It's actually, it's very satisfying.
Are you channeling your inner Marie Kondo?
Not to that extreme, She's a little hardcore for me, but
she is hardcore.
She is super hardcore, man. I mean, no, but certainly, just trying to at a bike shop level, just trying to get it operational.
I feel like
organized chaos.
Yeah, I feel like bike shops are prone to clutter. Is that true?
There's just so much stuff. It's just I think if you're like a specialized store, like if you're one of these specialized shops, or if you're a Trek store, and you're dealing with one brand primarily, and kind of the way they do business, I think it's a little easier to be organized. And there's also, a lot of those shops tend to be replace it shops versus fix it shops, and we're the opposite. We like deal with everything and fix things and
MacGyver shit up.
Yeah, and so you're prone to like just collecting things, and having things around, and for the longest time we were, I just like to keep. I grew up around in shops that like to keep things around in case we could fix it for someone, and but that leads to having a lot of stuff around. That's why I'm digging out of like a huge mess, because you keep something around that that might help one guy at some point in time, and you maybe use a tool or a part once every 8 years, or maybe once in the whole time that I've had the shop. We've been able to help someone out with that particular part, and you find that you have 10 of them, so it might be another 10 years till you get to use the additional, parts that you have in a bin. So it's just making some of those decisions, like parting ways with some of that stuff. And also things that we've collected from other bike shops. There's probably a lot of it is that, a lot of it was useful stuff when I first opened the shop, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was, 15 years ago. So those, some of the parts that we have in bins were handy 15 years ago, but at this point you're not seeing those bikes coming through anymore. You're not seeing, there's just less of those repair opportunities now, because I think a lot of those bikes have gone, into the garbage or recycled or whatever it is, and so just getting rid of a lot of things, a lot of small parts, a lot of 3-speed stuff, and just bins and bins and bins of things that were accumulated over time. So. So yeah, a deep dive into our inventory right now of parts and accessories and things like that. Dead product.
Do you have everything in a computer as well? Like, can you? Can you find everything, or is it more just analog, or is it a mix?
No, no, we don't. We did at some point, when we first opened the shop, we had kind of we actually invested in, and we still do have an inventory system, and it's online, and it's pretty high tech. It's like a pretty, it syncs with a lot of our vendors. So if we had, but the problem with it is that some of these systems are so sophisticated that you almost need someone to run that system for you. You need like a dedicated person just to kind of manage it, and
right.
And when we first opened, I had the time to manage that system, but as we got busier and busier, there was less time to focus on the inventory system, and because I had to focus on the customers that were coming through the door. So right now it's a bit of it's a mess. Right now it's not very. We use it for the big stuff for bicycles and some of the bigger inventory, but there's a lot of junk in there, and there's been a lot of hands on it. A lot of employees that have played with it and used it wrong and entered things, the wrong way, and so
sounds like fun.
Yeah, it needs a big pruning and cleaning right now. So so in short, no, it's not very. It's not up to date right now. And I have, honestly, if I had to inventory every bit and piece that I have in that store, forget it. I need to close for the next 3 months just to enter SKUs and things. So a lot of it is like miscellaneous and things like that. It's
right.
Just, miscellaneous hardware, things like that.
Speaking of, I actually, on my own small scale, I'm going to just get everything. So I have a ton of talk about like random parts and just odds and ends and this and that. I have a bunch of stuff I'm going to sell on, I guess, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or eBay or wherever, maybe all three. I've been meaning to do this for a number of years, and I just have like some random stuff. Some of it's like still in the box, like brand new, unopened. Just like one time I got like, I don't know if I had a discount code or something, but I bought some stuff from like SRAM, like carbon fiber, like, skewers, just in like really nice high-end, like rim brake pads. Like I know a lot of that stuff is phasing out, but it's still, there's still a big secondary market for that stuff. So, just a ton of, and some stuff's just used that's perfectly good, but I just don't use or need. So like I probably have like a helmet that I don't use anymore, and just whatever, just all this random stuff, some clothing, different things. And it's I want to just get rid of it. I'll probably donate some of it down at what's the big donation bike shop. Yeah. And I did that actually last year. I think we talked about it on the pod actually, but I brought down a big bag of stuff, but I have some other stuff now. This is like the second phase of it. It's a little bit nicer gear. So I'll probably donate some of it, but I might try to actually recoup some of what I actually paid for it. Just stuff like that.
You should check out that the Bike List site. We had Dan from Bike List on the show, and they do a lot of that stuff there.
I will check it out.
Yeah. Then you can report back. We were planning on doing a few things there, and trying that out.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and I know Sarah will be happy about that as well. But I honestly, I just have like a closet. I'm allowed one closet for my bike stuff, and it's pretty full. It's pretty packed. Like just to get something out of there, like if I have to grab like an inner tube, like I have to kind of like move stuff around. It's just kind of a pain, and it's literally stuff that is just sitting there and I haven't used. So it's a good time of year for me as well to just kind of do that. I would have done it over like the real winter, but we were away. So by the way, do you have a preference? We talked about Bike List, but in terms of Craigslist, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, maybe I'm missing a couple. Do you have a preference or any experience? Have you heard stories like one's better than the other? It seems like they all maybe have like pros and cons.
Traditionally eBay, I've been an eBay guy. And even over the winter, I've gotten rid of a few things here and there on eBay. So I think it depends on what you're selling. But But the fees on eBay have gotten kind of high.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that the audience is bigger there. I mean, it's a really big audience. So depending on what you're selling, sometimes, I think there are places that are better than others. I do have some Tom, my new mechanic, he was selling, he has been selling a lot of things. He just recently moved, so he was getting rid of a lot of things. And, he has the Craigslist stories, just people flaking out. And he had some problems, he had problems with Facebook as far as like his posts, the visibility of his posts. And,
gotcha.
Going through all the trouble of posting things there and then not having them be visible to a very big audience. So I know he was eager to try the Bikeless site as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think right now, I think eBay is still the leader when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I think everybody's searching for that alternative, and especially more of a bike, a bike specific site. So.
Yeah, I've tinkered a little bit. So I left Facebook a few years ago because I just got tired of it. But I did sign up, and I have a very super minimal account. I have 0 connections, 0 friends, because I kept hearing things about it. And then there was one time I was looking at something in like a wheel set, or I don't know what it was, but it's a little weird. Sometimes it seems decent. Like I just for fun to see what was going on, I plugged in like my bike size, and was looking around, and there were some decent bikes on there, but there was also just a lot of like random weird stuff, like just people taking like a really bad like single photo and not even really writing like descriptions of stuff properly, just kind of like bike for sale, call me, or just like rando stuff. And I was like, I wasn't like very impressed. Whereas I think a lot of eBay is like, if you get into the hardcore community of like cyclists on there, like people are super like, like roadies, right? Like they're so like A-type. So it's like super detailed, a million close-up clean photos and SKU numbers and like item IDs and just all this kind of stuff, the history of the ownership. And I really like that because I love all that info. I think cyclists are kind of that breed as well. We're very like, we love info and data and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think I think for eBay, one of the things that's become difficult is for larger items is the cost of shipping.
Yes.
Like shipping a bike these days. I shipped a bike for a customer the other day, and I used bike flights, and it was Chicago to LA, and it was over $200 with some real basic insurance. It was almost like $247 or something.
Yikes.
I mean, that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And the customer wasn't expecting that. He thought it was going to be a deal. He had shipped a bike with me maybe 2 or 3 years ago, pre-pandemic. And I think it was $87. It was less than $100 to ship it, maybe $150 with the box and the ship, something like that. So it was a bit of a sticker shock to him, and then he had to ship it back. It was another $200 plus to ship it home. And when he picked up the bike at the shop, he was like, man, it was just a debacle, the whole operation. I could have bought a bike out there,
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I was just doing what he asked me to do.
Right.
And I assumed that he was aware of what he was doing. But apparently he wasn't. So yeah, that's a really big issue right now with selling stuff online, with selling at least bicycles. Some of the smaller stuff is still, certainly not bad, but the big stuff right now, that traditional bike sale right now is, some of the shipping costs are just a deal breaker. So
yeah, you have to kind of pick your battles, I guess, and like see where you want to go with the platform. For me, it's like, I agree that smaller stuff, it's great because the scale is crazy. You can kind of find almost anything. I don't know. Facebook Marketplace feels a little bit like a garage sale or something.
Yeah, but I will say that without the thing on the other thing that's kind of probably cutting into the eBay thing is the sales tax. So, Facebook Marketplace, it is still it is flea market like, where you're just handing over cash or, of course you got to be ready to have a knife in your back or something if the wrong encounter.
You better bring your big uncle.
Although, you know what, I bought a bike maybe a year and a half ago from someone. I was looking for a used bike to refurbish for a good customer. Somebody just needed a good used bike, and I went the extra step of actually securing the bike for them and fixing the bike for them. And I met the customer at a police station.
Wow.
They wanted to meet at their local police station inside the lobby of the police station. And apparently she did that regularly with her thing. So a lot of people do meet like in a parking lot or in the vestibule.
Public. Yeah. Like I used to meet people at Starbucks and stuff like that. I mainly just didn't want freaks knowing where I lived.
Believe me, I have been in people's yards or like a dark garage or heading down into somebody's basement with them behind me.
Jesus.
Thinking, I'm like,
what?
I did not tell anybody I was coming here. I could completely disappear.
That's every movie I've ever seen on Netflix.
I know. I mean, I haven't done it recently, but boy, that was the last time. In fact, that was the last time. I remember, like, this was when I was building out the bicycle shop. So it was, 15 years ago. But a couple of times, I was like in, like unincorporated.
Oh man.
Unincorporated parts of this, of the area, and like making my way into somebody's backyard, into their shed, in the dark, to go see a toolbox or something, and you're just like, wow, I should have called someone. I should have told someone I was coming here because I can get a baseball bat over the back, right? Over the
all I can think about is Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, no, could have happened.
By the way, Joe, I was just cruising Marketplace real quick since we were talking about it, and there is a Trek in a 58. Do you know what Trek it is?
U.S. Postal.
Dude, close. It's a Trek Y-foil.
Oh, gee.
Oh my God.
Is it gold, purple, blue?
No, it's blue. It's blue. And it's got the Rolf wheels. Oh man, Bike Snob actually had a post about Y-foil. He took a Y-foil out. He does like these, I don't know what you call them. Like they're just, he does like his own version of like a ride review, but he gets like super weird bikes and shit. But he did a Y-foil. I think it was a Y-foil, and I think it had those like early like the Greg LeMond, the early tri bars, like the weird ones that would go out and kind of curve back in and have a point at the top.
Yeah, it was a big giant thing. Yeah.
And he just kind of went out, but Y-foil. Wow, I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah, the Zip had a bike similar to that. They had like a big carbon fiber arm that came out of the bike. It was like all that. There was a lot of innovation in that at that time in the bike world. And all kind of came to a screeching halt.
Yes, indeed.
But they were trying all sorts of crazy things in those years. Oh, it's only $500, Danny.
I was gonna say
that should be your bike for the year. Go old school, go vintage, purely vintage.
Just show up at some races on that thing.
Oh no, right at that Rafa ride, all tricked out, all geared out. And
I'll just have like totally straight face. It's like, what's up, guys? Yeah. Where are we riding today?
We're headed. I don't almost want to buy like that frame and just deck it out in all modern stuff, DI to it. I wonder if you would even take a DI. I suppose you could. I don't see why it wouldn't take a DI2 kit.
There's a photo there. The chainstay says hand built in the USA. Were they hand built in the USA? That seems interesting.
I don't know. Maybe hand built can be a lot of things. Like if you assemble it here, like if you actually put the parts on the frame here, I think that qualifies as hand built here.
I love how people like post bikes for sale and they don't even wash them. They're just, you can just see the dirt.
Just want to get it out of here. They make no attempt at all.
It's just like, oh my, I mean, that can be cool in some ways because probably it means they don't care about bikes or know about bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So you might actually find some kind of weird deal through that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are some sweet bikes on here though, actually. So anyway, so that's that. But Joe, I had this other news. So I know you're going to make fun of me, but I re-upped my coaching. I got my cycling coach again.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Well, I think you made. I didn't say anything during the last episode of the podcast, but you did mention a training service, and you said my coach or me.
Yeah.
And so I let it slide because I'm like, he said my coach, but
he's like, oh, go. So I had I signed a contract. It sounds so pro,
but it requires a contract and everything, huh?
Well, I just whatever. I signed up, so I got a coaching plan.
Okay.
And I did this pre-pandemic. So I bought a 1-year plan through a company called Cycle Smart.
Okay.
And that's owned and run by Adam Meyerson.
Oh yeah, that's why it's so familiar.
Yeah, so I've known Adam a long time. So they coach like all things cycling, but I think their forte is in cyclocross. But they do like road, gravel, mountain, all that jazz. Anyway, so I signed up for a year and I did basically 6 months, and then I pulled the plug. Basically, I kind of stopped training. So I was racing for a couple of years straight. And then that second year I got this coach. His name was Nick. He was great. But then I pulled the plug when COVID like really hit and all this stuff was going on in the world and in my life too. But I just pulled the plug and I asked Adam, I'm like, hey, can I like pause this? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting a lot of that right now. It's totally fine. So he's like, I could refund you or, the balance or, if you just want to pause it and come back. I'm like, no, I'll totally just pause it and come back. And he was happy for that, of course. But anyway, so I just decided I wanted to do some racing again this year. So I'm not going to do like as many races as I did that last year. I'm going to ease back into it. But so I restarted it. So I'm going to have a different coach. His name is Jacob Fetty. He's a former pro. Pretty high level domestically, but also raced in Europe and stuff. So yeah, so he's in West Virginia and I've yet to have our first meeting, but we've been exchanging a couple messages and he got me set up on some of the software and all this kind of stuff. So same company, Cycle Smart, but different coach. But yeah, he seems like a really cool guy. So I'm pretty stoked. And I'm back. I'm gonna be back on it, man. Back in training mode, Joe.
So how So I'm guessing these systems, it requires you to like load up your training rides, or they prescribe some training rides and then you load up your data and they analyze the data and tell you what you need to be doing, or how does the back and forth work between you? How do you guys work?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's that's definitely part of it, what you just described. So just in terms of the tech they were using, and I'm sure you've heard of it, but Training Peaks was the software they were using, but they've moved to a new, cool, kind of hot company now called Today's Plan. And that's an Aussie-based software service. So it's kind of, it's similar to Training Peaks, but I think it's like cleaner and it has some cool features on there. I don't even know a lot about it yet, but I've been setting up my profile. So anyway, yeah, you do your rides. He'll go over, obviously you have a bunch of conversations, you go through like your history. It's a whole bunch of things. Every coach is obviously different. But you kind of go through all your, stuff that's been happening in the distant past and recent past, and then fill out your profile. I'll probably have to do the ever painful FTP test, which is like 20 minutes all out. And then they kind of have a little equation. They plug in the numbers and then they spit out this FTP for you, and then you use that as your benchmark for your heart rate zones and your watt zones, training, power zones, and then your training is kind of customized around that. And then you kind of do that test a few times a year because ideally you're moving in a positive production, so your FTP would go up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we'll go through all kinds of we'll have all kinds of conversations, especially at the start, and then we have one weekly. That's part of the plan that I got. There's like different tiers. So the one I got is I get a 1 hour convo each week. So we go over kind of what's going on with the training and everything. So yeah, he'll, once we kind of have all these benchmarks and this kind of like base data kind of set up, the FTP tests and all this kind of stuff, he'll create my zones and talk me through how that's kind of arrived at. And then the training will be, he'll use all the data to like create a training program, and then he'll plug in all the workouts. And it's just like in a Google, it's not a Google calendar, but it kind of looks like it basically. And so it'll just have all my workouts laid out day by day, week by week. And, you go through all these different blocks. You might have like a 4-week block, a rest week, another 4-week block. It all depends kind of what you're doing. That's how mine was last time. So yeah, it's kind of like you add intensity, add a load, build, and then recover, and just kind of repeat. But I'd say that's part of it. And everything automatically, uploads after your ride. It'll just automatically, just like it uploads to Strava. So it'll upload to today's plan. And then he can see everything. So all the data you can share, and more. And so then there's the kind of anecdotal part where it's like you put in notes. Rate of perceived exertion is still a big thing, actually. So it's not just those hardcore like cold numbers. It's also just like, how did the workout feel? What was going on in the workout? How'd you sleep? Like, the sleep data can be incorporated there too. And I use a Garmin watch for that. Gotcha. So I've been doing that for a few years. So that's really good. Without going into super fine details, but that's basically it. And then, you can both see all the info in the file. And so you'd be like, oh, your heart rate was really high and your watts were like steady. So maybe you're like tired, maybe you need to rest, or the opposite. Like you could probably go harder. And, but the idea is like a coach has a really good understanding of like all the different things that go into, being kind of like a good cyclist, right? So physiology, biomechanics, you name it, nutrition, recovery, obviously all that stuff is huge. So
are there places, are you filling out like a form that has questions about all that stuff? Like what you ate, calorie intake, blah, 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 sleep, or, do you have to load up all that kind of data, or is it that informed, or is it a little looser?
I think it's a little looser. So I'm just starting this. Like I said, we haven't had our first full big chat yet, but I've been filling in some info. There was a questionnaire that any new athlete or anyone who's restarting like me has to fill out. So that takes a little while, but it's very thorough, and it just kind of explains everything. So we kind of fill that out. That's more like narrative, kind of like you just type out your answers. But in terms of like, for example, like sleep or nutrition data, anything like that. So I record mine. I've been back on recording all that stuff and documenting it. I don't know if this software program uses that or if he's going to even want that. Some coaches are, it's like anything, right? Some coaches like all that, and some are like, no, we don't need it. Or I trust you know what you're doing at this point. You know how to eat. What not to eat. You need your rest. But so we'll see. I'll have to report back.
Gotcha.
But I definitely have that data. Like I use my Fitness Pal. It's like a calorie counter. And then that incorporates with that it's like all the software these days. It all kind of talks to each other. So you can integrate Strava and your Garmin and my Fitness Pal and all these different things. So anyway, I'm pretty stoked. So should be pretty good.
That's exciting, man.
It
sounds like you're taking it pretty serious.
Well, I am and I'm not. I'm definitely taking it seriously, but I think I'm not taking it as seriously as I maybe did 2 rounds ago. The last round was like a nice balance, and I'd like to strike that again. So I'm very realistic about what's going on, my age, and where I've been, what I've been doing the past few years. But yeah, it's well, one, I had 6 months left on the contract or the program, so on the plan. So I wanted to use it. I didn't want that money to go away. And having some people, obviously some people do great without coaches. I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people, like, if you give me like a plan, like, I'm just going to execute it. Like, I'm just going to go out and crush it. Like, I really thrive in that kind of structure. Mm-hmm. So if he's like, go out and do like, do this workout. It's an hour and a half long and it's got intervals, and I'm pretty,
you enjoy that.
Meticulous. I love going out and just like having everything set up and then approaching it and then just like, hopefully crushing all those kind of workouts. Okay. I just like really thrive in that. And then if I'm not coached, I know some stuff. I do like to read up on training and different things like that. I think I have a good general understanding, but it's hard to beat someone who does this full time. So these guys are all full time coaches. Like they don't have other gigs. They're just full time cycling coaches, and usually very specific like disciplines, like cyclocross, road, gravel. Mm-hmm. So you get that really nice benefit too, because they can, they can you can like learn more from a coach like in a week or a month than maybe you could doing your own work for like a year.
Sure. Yeah. Like nice to get a mentor or somebody to, kind of just help you along, even if it's temporary, even if it's just for 6 months or the next, just to kind of get you on the way, and then you take it from there. But it is nice to have a little help, to get started. And maybe you're at that point, right? You've been riding now, you've been doing it on your own for the last year, and now it's time to get a little bit of that, get a little that nudge to kind of keep you going on your in the right direction. Me, on the other hand, Danny, you know what? I had a cold. I came down with a cold about I don't know, a week, 10 days ago. And I haven't ridden the bike at all. I just really it really took it out of me for a little bit. Where I just decided I was going to jump back on the bike. Actually, yesterday was the first day I felt decent enough to maybe get on the bike, and I didn't. I just decided to take one more day off, and then I'll get back in. But it was like some sort of lung sinus thing. It was just it really took it out of me. People. Yeah, I think we mentioned there were just a lot of people coming in and out of the store, and I could see it. You could just see it. People running noses, and you're just like, oh man, somebody's going to get me here with something. And it seems to be going around, just from my interactions at the store with the public, like everyone's got something, and it's just, for me, this winter is just, I don't know that I've gone like more than a 2-month stretch without the sniffles of some sort, there's just been, it just seems like there's, some of the girls that work at one of the girls that works at the shop works at a school. Oh boy, she's always got something, and she comes into the shop,
petri dish.
Yeah, and it's just things are passed. Things just get passed around, and
and it's that time of year. I mean,
Chicago, it's that time of the year, and I know that right now with there's just been a lot of talk that people are susceptible to colds right now, just because we haven't had a lot of colds in the last couple of years.
And I feel like with weather changes too. Yeah. That it's more, likely to.
Yeah. So for me, I've been off of it, but I also just, with a good attitude about it. It's all right. The good weather's coming, and I'll get back on, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I found myself stressing about not riding, and I'm like,
look at you.
And I'm like, oh man, this is not the right, the whole reason I want to ride is not to stress, to kind of cut the stress, and I'm stressing
about 22 almost.
Yeah. So
well, from what I understand about coaching, I would say you did the right thing. So if you're sick, rest.
Yeah.
Fully recover.
Yeah.
I've done like indoor rides when I've been sick, but super chill, like just 30 minutes easy pedaling, like crystal pedals kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think you did the right thing to just rest and eat well, have your chicken soup.
That's what I decided to do. We'll see. I mean, you know what? I will mentally, I'll approach it, with like, excited to be able to get back on the bike, so I think that's probably worth more.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a nice byproduct too. When you are forced off the bike for a week or whatever it is, when you come back on and you're feeling good, like it's a great feeling. You're like, oh, I love this. Like this is a really pleasurable, like fun thing to do.
I missed you. I missed it. Yeah. So I don't think I'll get my momentum going again, but yeah, that's it. I had a little progress go. I was making some progress, and then boom, just kind of.
Nice, man. We'll have to go get a couple rides then down on the south side, or if you're up here, and that'd be cool. We could hit the I&M Canal, North Branch Trail one of these days. It'd be fun.
There's a lot of I hear from a lot of people. There have been a lot of faces at the bike shop that have been gone for a couple of years. Like a lot of people that just hadn't been riding, haven't come through the shop, or if they were riding, they were maybe riding on their own. But a lot of people that took time off the bike. For as many people that discovered the bike over the last couple of years, a lot of people, for whatever reason, life reasons, you name it, just weren't riding. So I've had a lot of customers come in with their bikes that bikes that I was working on, that I used to work on pretty regularly, that haven't had any work done in the last 3 years because they haven't ridden their bike in the last 2 or 3 years, And so a lot of people wanting to get back on the bike, it's been a common theme this spring. Here's my bike, last time no sealant, and just they're all kind of in the same state. They all got shut down 3 years ago, put in the garage or in storage, or with a flat tire, and they weren't ridden. I mean, for as many people that got riding because of COVID, I think a lot of people stopped riding because of COVID.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a lot. You had regular riders who stopped riding. Whose habits just changed a lot. Whose social, it was a social thing for them with their friends, and they didn't have that, so they didn't ride. They were dependent on other people getting them out to ride, and so that's something I just didn't think about. But I'm coming across right now, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, for you. Riding a bike was a social activity. It was something you did with friends. And since you couldn't see your friends, you didn't ride. And you got fat. Like, dude, you got fat. You got to get back on the bike, man. And, so yeah, some people are, pretty, I was like, whoa.
That happened to me.
I went the other way. I lost weight, so I'm getting the good side of that. Like, oh, hey, you lost some weight. I'm like, yeah.
It is fascinating how different people reacted differently. I feel like we're on the tail end now, but I mean, that was kind of my thing. I stopped training. I stopped getting coached, and I did keep riding, but it went down like big time. Like if you look at my little Strava, activities, it was like do climbing up nice, and then it was like and it was just like I there were some weeks I didn't ride at all. I went out for 1 or 2 rides, and but and then like you said, some people just the opposite. They just like turbocharged. They're just like out there. They're like getting healthier, and I don't think I got healthier during the pandemic.
Like you said, we're kind of almost coming out of it, but then when it's like there's still a lot of stuff coming out there where I just like, things I just didn't think about. It was like, wow, it makes you realize that we're still like, I mean, this is going to be years and years and years to unravel everything that's happened to people. Just mentally and physically, and like, I mean, we're not even we're not even close to figuring out what the effects of all of this has been.
Not at all.
And so this year is, that's been, it's like, okay, we're another year removed from the hardcore lockdowns and stuff, and this has been a new learning over the last few, just something that I've identified over the last 2 months, where it's like, hey, hey, how you been? I haven't seen you for 3 summers, and
Right.
it's like, oh, I haven't gone to another bike shop or anything, Joe. I just haven't been riding. Or I'm looking, I think last time, the last show, we were talking about how, people that I told to wait for a bike, were coming through and buying bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I've got this other group of people that just haven't ridden their bikes. They have not ridden their bikes. They were avid cyclists and not riding their bikes. So, yeah, I mean, the whole bike industry has been really focused on trying to keep our old, trying to keep all these new riders in the, riding, right? But I haven't seen a lot of effort into getting riders riding again. I think we've kind of we all just assumed that people that rode bikes were riding bikes that whole time. And I'm getting the sense that a lot of people that were regular customers and regular riders stopped riding bikes altogether, and now that we got to get those people to start riding their bikes and bringing their bikes in, for repairs. And that was just something that I was, I just didn't think about it. I just assumed that they had been riding their, that they'd been out there, but no, I mean, they weren't riding their bikes. So yeah, it was, people afraid to ride, people that just didn't want to go out for whatever reason, and
right.
or it's just, riding a bike is hard, and if they don't have their riding buddy, they're not going to ride. So it was a perfect excuse not to ride. So it was just, yeah, it's just interesting. It's just another interesting insight into the things that are happening at the bike shop this season.
You're seeing it all, man.
Yeah. But it's been nice. It's been nice to reconnect with all of these people and kind of welcome them back to the shop, and people are really happy to see that the shop made it. Oh, you're still around. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. I mean, but like genuinely glad, They're
right.
Just like, I didn't know if you were going to make it. And,
yeah.
I haven't been down this way because, where the shop is at. It's, it's not, a lot of our customers are not from the neighborhood. They come to that area to ride a bike. And so
right.
they don't really have a reason to be down there unless they're riding a bicycle, and they haven't been riding a bike for 3 years. So, when they come by, they're like genuinely excited, and, people have brought cookies and booze. Oh. Yeah.
Careful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. So it sounds like things are gearing up. So I saw you had Earl in the shop.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He's good. He is, I'm taking it easy on him right now. I just, hold on a second. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I forgot to plug in. Yeah, no, Earl is doing well. He is, he's back working at the shop. He's there. I think I've had him on average about 4 days a week right now. And, maybe 5 hours a day. So he's doing maybe 25 hours a week right now.
Is he behaving himself?
Yeah, I think he's happy to be back at the shop, right at the shop right now.
Yeah.
I think this is a good pace for him right now. And I think this is like an ideal pace for him, what I have him working right now. And I don't think I'd want to work him, too much more than what he's doing right now. And it's been a big help. I mean, just having any help is big.
Yeah.
It was big for me, but I really forgot how nice it is to just hand over a tune-up and say, here, do these 3 tune-ups, and here are the parts, and you do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it must feel great.
yeah, and I can do some of the other stuff, like I like I mentioned earlier, before, today, organizing and getting the shop pulled together and cleaning up and sorting and just getting the shop, the actual, the retail spot back together again, and just getting, watching the whole business, directing the business as a whole, that's just kind of, that's been nice, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable that I've been able to do that, and he's doing that, and I'm hopefully have another mechanic in there soon, and be able to do more and more things. We've already sold, been able to sell some nicer bikes because I've had help, because I've had somebody there, and it's just allowing me to be a little bit more proactive about some of the stuff that I want to do, and maybe offer. We're able to offer more services, obviously, because we can, I can do more things, and that's going to be fun, as we kind of bring in new mechanics and people capable of doing that kind of stuff. It's going to be fun to run a proper shop again. We got some nice bikes on the schedule, to
nice.
build, and it's good. I've got a big project that I'm working on right now, and that's also got me pretty excited. I have something kind of brewing with a custom build right now, and
is that the big bike?
That is it's a big bike. I guess I don't think we talked about it too much here, but I'm working with a builder. I'll say that much. I'm working with I'm working with a great builder in Spain right now, and he's building a custom bike for me for a big customer, and so that project is coming together. In fact, I've been getting texts. I've been waking up to WhatsApp, messages with pictures of a frame getting built, and
wow, exciting!
That's really cool, because it's a project that I started it's a conversation that I had with him pre-COVID. In fact, like 2 or 3 weeks before the whole thing, the country got shut down, I was in Spain meeting with him and talking about doing, working on some projects together, and then everything came to kind of a screeching halt. We've been kind of pushing this frame bike building project along the best we could, but things got really bogged down because of material issues. It's a pretty unique bike that we had to have a lot of tests done on the, we've built like this, we did 3 prototypes, sent it out for ISO testing, and
wow,
had some frames, the initial ones fail, and finally hit on the right recipe for the composition of the frame, and
cool.
I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more once it's down the road a little bit more.
You got to have a big reveal party.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That will be.
You got to document it all. Have photos. This could be good. This could be good for the pod, Joe.
Yeah, he's documenting it a little bit, and obviously when we go and deliver the bike, that'll be fun. But it's a big bike. He's
a big lad.
He's a giant dude. Yeah, pretty big time.
Comes from another walk of life.
Yeah, Yeah, you can say that.
That's all we'll say about
it. That's all we'll say about
We'll keep it under our hats for right now.
Yeah, let's get I want to see the next pictures come through. I want to see more progress on this frame. This frame before we talk about it.
You might get some press out of this, man.
Yeah, we could. I mean,
I mean,
mm-hmm.
Do you remember when LeBron James, they had pictures of him on some mountain bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brett Favre had a Project One Trek road bike,
mm-hmm.
and this happens quite a bit. I've done a few posts on those in the past too. But yeah, like people are always just like interested when like non-cyclists, especially stars from other sports, for example, get a bike, and usually they're like big, tall bikes too, but like custom because they want like They don't want just a big bike. They want like a kick-ass big bike.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I think you can get some mileage out of this. You can promote the pod.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This poor guy just wanted a bike.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you talked him into like a big cool project thing.
You know, he was just a big guy. You know, he was a really big guy, and he hit on some. You know, he happened to run into me, and you know, I had been talking to my friend in Spain. You know, frame builder, and we're like, listen, I can't like. We can buy you a bike, but that's all wrong for you. You know, this is gonna. You know, there's just nothing. You're a pretty big guy. There just isn't really anything made for you, and but you know, we'll figure it out and make you. So how about we make you something? You know, we took on this job of like making him a custom bike, and we threw it out there. We threw out this idea of building him a custom bicycle. Little did we know how difficult it would be to build a custom bike that big. You know, and that we were basically creating this whole different platform of you know, it's hard to talk about it without giving it all away. But it you know, so we just kind of, you know, because of the size of the bike and because of what we're doing, it just created some different stresses on the frame that nobody anticipated. And I will say this, that even the owner of Columbus Tubing has been involved in some conversations with us and working with us as far as like making recommendations, because the original frame we built, the first prototype was made with traditional bike tubing. You know, it was just made with Columbus tubing, and it failed pretty quickly. And right after it failed some stress tests that we put it through, and we realized after that we were in, you know, that this was going to be a much harder task than we had imagined.
Very cool news, Joe. I'm really excited. I think it's actually a super cool project, and if we're able to get that person on the show, would be amazing. Maybe you can even, and if failing that, maybe you can just get like a little phone chat or something from that person.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, I'm gonna go and deliver the bike to him. So, you know, I want to, you know, we'll drive out to see him and give him a bike once it's all done. So right now,
that's cool.
Frame is in Madrid, and you know, being built in Madrid. I can say that, and then eventually the frame will come to the shop. I'll do the final build at the bike shop, and then at some point, the plan is to try to fit it into a standard size van and drive it out. No, it'll fit into a van, but and drive it out to him, you know, and deliver the bike and get him all set up on it. So that should be fun.
That's so cool.
At this point, it's a labor of love, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, this is just something now we're all just in it because, you know, we dig bikes, and
you can have get some great photos and you know, get them framed up in the shop. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah. Now that we can see the end, I mean, at some point we were pulling our hair out. I mean, there was, you know, it's one of those classic, you know, it's been up and down, you know, people are ready to pull the plug on the whole project, and just, you know, put some stress on some relationships and friendships, and well, because it's, you know, it got much more complicated than any of us ever expected, and then you threw the pandemic in there, so that was a real big thing. The you know, just the availability of things, you know, something that was, you know, maybe in a normal year it would have taken, you know, an extra 6 months to get this all done. But because of, you know, you add that to the mix and you can't get materials, and then labs are closed and countries are closed down, and moving stuff around and trying to get things tested. And, you know, this all started because the guy wanted a bike to ride during the pandemic. You know? So, you know, that's how I got involved with that. It's like, hey, he needs a big bike. You got a bike shop, and you get him a big bike, and you know, he just wants to ride a bike because he's cooped up inside and wants to go out and ride a bike. And here we are, almost, you know, 3 years later.
Do you need a quick news roundup, Joe?
You know what? I wouldn't mind one.
All right.
Hold on. Let's see. All right. We're good to go.
Sweet. Is the I can't hear it, but is the newsroom ticker tape thing going?
The newsroom is going. So sorry you can't hear it, but it is going.
It's all good. I totally trust you. Yeah, so just a quick highlight or two from the world of cycling news, bike news. Joe, as we talked about, the racing season is full on. Can you believe what's coming up this week, Joe, on Saturday?
What is this Saturday?
Milan San Remo.
Is that already this? It's the 18th or 17th, 18th, whatever it is. What is it? It's always that weekend, right? It's always like that.
Yeah.
It's always that. The third Saturday of the month?
Yeah, or something like that.
Wow.
It is this Saturday, March 18th. It's just crazy. It seems like it always comes up so fast.
Yeah, because Paris-Nice, I was kind of trying to keep track of Paris-Nice, and yeah, we're already at Milano San Remo.
Yeah, the longest race of the year. It's almost 300K, and it's a good 6-7 hours of racing. So that's this Saturday. If folks want to get up and watch, I'm going to be watching. That's for sure.
Is Pogacar going to be there?
Pogacar and Van Aert and Van der Poel and a bunch of other dudes. So it's got some heavy hitters, man. This is going to be legit. It's going to be legit. I can't wait. So that's coming up. Of course, this past weekend, Paris-Nice ended, as well as Torino. Torino finished up as well on Sunday. So the two 1 week stage races, Torino Adriatico.
Mm-hmm.
Pogacar crushed Paris-Nice. That was an amazing race. I don't know if you got to see any of it or any of the highlights, but that was super fun. They had new rules team time trial that was really cool. That some folks want to see kind of incorporate into all races. They took the individual time of the rider as opposed to the team. 4 guys deep, I think. So that was actually really cool. It changed things up a lot. But yeah, Pogacar crushed. I think he won 2-3 stages. And the last stage, he went on this solo mission. So he's in the yellow jersey,
mm-hmm.
and he attacks like a baller in the yellow jersey, racing off the front. And finished solo. It had some big, crazy, high-speed descents, and everyone was trying to catch him, and they couldn't catch him. And sometimes, honestly, it can be a little boring, but I don't know. This year was great. They had some really cool, good weather, and
it's
really good racing.
It's hot in Europe right now. It's unseasonably warm right now.
Yeah, man.
My wife is back in Spain, and
is she?
Yeah,
okay.
It's in mid-70s, almost 80 degrees this weekend. So
yeah, well, they had guys squirting full-on water bottles over their helmets, and you don't see that in Paris-Nice. It was kind of weird, and jerseys open, and
yeah.
I'm like, what is this? The tour? This is March, early mid-March, pretty crazy. And kind of the other big storyline from Paris-Nice, besides Pogacar just crushing, is who he crushed. So he was, it was all built up as a rematch from the Tour de France with Vingegaard.
Mm-hmm.
And Vingegaard cracked. He dropped Vingegaard twice in that race on climbs. So at the one stage, Vingegaard lost, I think, 45 seconds, which is huge. And when you get up to that kind of rarefied air. So he never came back from that. So that was they were talking about the psychological battle, so there's all the usual stuff on Twitter, it's too early, the tour is not for months, and then other people were like, no, he's got the psychological advantage. So anyway, if you're into this bike nerdery, it was a pretty cool race that way, and just always fun to see these stage races. And then over in Italy nearby, the Torino Adriatico, that was really cool as well. Some good racing there. A couple interesting storylines. Well, Roglic, your boy Joe, he won pretty handily. Looked great. He won a couple stages there, if not 3, I can't remember. But he won a handful of stages there, and he looked really, really good. So yeah, the 2 Slovenians crushing it in the big premier races. Van der Poel had a weird race. He was doing some cool lead outs. for his teammates, but he didn't have great form. So that's been kind of one of the storylines too. Is he's reevaluating whether he should do a full cross season again. He's just not firing the way he normally does, and obviously we have these big classics coming up now. So there's a little bit of pressure on him. I think we'll see what happens. Wout van Aert was looking pretty good, I think, and Alaphilippe was there, and just cool race. I would be remiss if I didn't say, but we had two top 10, two Americans in the top 10 at Paris-Nice overall, which was really cool. So Matteo Jorgensen, the young kid, he was in the white jersey just because Pogacar was in the yellow, so he got to borrow the white jersey as best young rider for the week. So what a promising talent for the U.S. in terms of stage racing. So he's like super skinny, tall climber, like classic, GC kind of guy. So I was pretty excited. He's been on people's radar for a while, of course, but I think this is probably one of his best results to date. And that was pretty dope. There was actually a funny picture of Paulus after the race. He was in his full kit and his sneakers with his like bag over his shoulder, and he was at a McDonald's.
I saw
Nice.
A photo like that. Okay, yeah, because he must live there or something.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. It just keeps it real
on his way home.
He definitely earned it. So that was really cool. And then Torino was really good. There's some really good racing going on. So.
I knew there was an American on the Movistar team because I have a lot of friends still in Spain and kind of involved in the bike racing thing, and they'll always refer to there's el Americano on the Movistar team. Yeah. They would say, as they would say, un compatriota tuyo. They won't say his name, they just know him as the American on the Movistar team.
And, there you go.
And which is that's cool. My ears perk up when there's an American guy on Movistar because that's, first of all, it's kind of unusual. It's like I don't remember the last time there was an American guy. I think he's been there for a couple of years though, right? Has he been on Movistar for a couple of years?
I'm not sure how long he's been there. But yeah, I'm just very excited to have like a really good talent come along.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we had a GC guy. Obviously, Paulus I'm not, ignoring him. He's a great rider, but he strikes me as someone. I don't see Paulus winning a GT anytime. But he's done well in 1 week races, and he's done really well in 1 day races and stuff like that. He's just he's kind of a bigger, stronger, more durable rider. But Matteo Jorgensen, I think he's 140 pounds, 6'3".
Jeez.
I mean, he's 23 years old only. Like,
kid.
I'm excited. I could see him winning a GT. I'm just excited that we have someone from the U.S. Doing really, really well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I'm pretty excited. So that was, and he's actually really smart, and he's really good on social. So if folks want to follow a cool, I shouldn't say up and coming. He's been up and coming a while, but a really fun guy to follow. I would check him out. He's really good. The racing kicked off with these 1 week stage races. I'm pretty stoked. And then, we've got Milan San Remo coming up Saturday. One of my favorite races, arguably the best hour of cycling, the last hour, the Cipressa and the Poggio and that crazy descent down into the Via Roma and San Remo. And so cool. What a great finish. Maybe the best hour in cycling. So that's that. And then Joe, over in the other side of things, did you happen to hear what Tom Boonen was getting up to? He got into some controversy this past week. Have you heard about any of that?
Yeah, I heard him and Colnago had some sort of a fight or a brouhaha, and Colnago was challenging him to ride their bikes. And,
yes,
right. I mean, it had something to do with a podcast of some sort of disparaging remarks on a podcast, right? Is that?
That's it. He apparently, I didn't listen to the podcast. Of course, I don't even know if it was in English, but apparently, Tom Boonen was on this podcast with some other cycling folks and basically said, if Pogacar was on a different bike, like a competitor, like a Specialized or a Canyon or whatever, he'd be going even faster because the Colnago is just not up to snuff. And it was kind of weird because, some people were saying like, if Colnago came out with like a big statement about it. Like they were pissed off.
Yeah.
And because they got like a new bike out. Obviously all these bikes are crazy expensive, but it's Pogačar, the best rider on the planet or in the top 3, whatever. And it's like, he's going pretty fast. So I'm like, first of all, that's a really weird statement from like Bonin to say that. Like, I don't know where he came off saying that. I mean, I love Bonin, I respect him, but this is a really odd statement because it really didn't make any sense. But what was interesting, and some people were saying it probably wouldn't have gotten nearly as much attention if Colnago had just not said anything, because by them coming out saying something, it actually made it like a big thing in the news cycle for folks who follow like the silly news of cycling. So he went on later to apologize, and there was a quote I saw. He's like, "I dreamed about winning Paris-Roubaix on a Colnago," and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, they invited him to come try a ride on a new Colnago. So that was kind of weird. I mean, I've been looking at that bike for a while, not to buy because I couldn't afford it, but I just been kind of admiring it. And it's a really cool bike. It's really simple looking in the sense that it's just like stealth. It's just all black. And look at Pogačar. I mean, he's crushing it. I mean, it's a great bike. It's fast. It's ridiculous for Bonin to say any of this. Sounds like maybe he just, I don't know, was in a mood or just was going off some weird experience he had or something. I don't know. But Colnago, for the folks who maybe don't know, is like this, one of the most prestigious brands in all of cycling. Been making, race-winning bikes at the top level for decades and have sponsored all these like amazing, great teams and all this kind of stuff. So, including Mapei.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, it did make me go back and like I have been a little disconnected from the Colnago brand for a while, and I've got one of their old bikes. I've got one of their, when they were still making steel bikes. I got one of their cool old Rabobank bikes, and
the orange and white.
Yeah, and for a long time it was a really cutting edge company. I think that I see where Bonin's coming from a little bit, because their brand did get a little bit old. When all the really cutting edge carbon fiber stuff started coming out, all the monocoque stuff and some of the new building techniques came out. Colnago was still making kind of like my bike, those lugged carbon bikes, and they were chunky. So there was a time that they were definitely not necessarily what I would call cutting edge bikes. They were stylistically, they were still really cool looking bikes. They were style wise, but I think they definitely did get as far as like their technology goes, I think they did get kind of a little old. So I can kind of see what he's talking about. And the company was sold, so it's no longer owned by like Ernesto Colnago. So I mean, it was some sort of holding company or something, somebody investment company that bought them 2 or 3 years back. So I can kind of see, because Bonin was one of those original guys with Specialized, right? When Specialized really started making inroads into the professional peloton, and he was with
he started with Trek, obviously. US Postal, I believe they were on Treks at the time, and then he was only on there for a year, and then people got wise, like, okay, this guy's really good, we need him back in Belgium. But he was on Specialized a lot. I think he won most of his races with Specialized. But no, I mean, it's fair. It's kind of interesting. I think there's some truth in what you're saying, in the sense that I think anecdotally or just impression brand wise, like they definitely didn't seem to be doing much for a long time. And then all of a sudden they're sponsoring the UAE team with Pogačar, and he wins the tour. It's like, oh, Colnago's back. Like, remember Colnago? Like, I remember people literally tweeting like, remember Colnago? And so, I kind of get it, but I feel like, Bonin, and, people can just say things and they're not always, it's a podcast. They're not sitting there reading a script, but I just, Bonin is still, he's still a very influential guy. Like he's people still take what he says. Like the Belgian press is insane when it comes to bike racers. So they're going to take anything he says, especially if it's controversial, and like pump it up and be like, look what Bonin said. He's like, disrespecting this classic Italian brand. I thought it was very silly, and Bike Snob had actually some funny comments about it. But there you go. The other thing is, they have announced the whole Ragbri route.
Oh yeah, I had a customer mention that. Ragbri, the ride across Iowa.
That's right. So they just announced it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to be watching the tour. It starts the 23rd in Sioux City, and it's like July 22nd to 29th. But it looks pretty cool. One of these days, I want to do it. It's definitely like a good challenge. I mean, some of these rides, they got one that's the first day is 77 miles, but 3,500 feet of climbing. I mean, that's not nothing. I thought it was more pancake flat than that, actually.
It's a big party on wheels. So
it is. Yeah.
And I've never done it myself, but judging by what, I've been sending customers that way for over 25 years, to do Ragbri, and, judging, just knowing those customers, I mean, none of them are Tour de France athletes. They were all going there for good times. And, I've heard all sorts of stories coming out of that ride. There's, it's a big, some guys are, it's a meat market for some people, they just go there to hook up. And I mean, it seems like there's a really good vibe going on there. People will get like matching shirts, and, there's like big
teams, and they make a whole thing. Yeah. It's like a festival on wheels.
Yeah. Some people some people really do it up, like kind of high end, where they have like their own personal support and spend some real money on like they have accommodations. And then there's other people
camping it.
Yeah, there's what they do with Ragbri. Like a lot of people are actually camping, and so what you do is you throw your bag into a big box truck at the end of the night. You throw your bag with your name on it, and then you ride to the next location where you find your bag in a field, and you go find your bag and you pitch the tent again. So
nice.
So people do it at different levels, and other people will have like, they have like a caravan of like, RVs and stuff that kind of follow them, and have chefs and stuff. So when I was in Lincoln Park, like they had, some of those groups had, like, they really did it up. Like they'd spend thousands of dollars on their support teams, and have like gourmet meals and wine, and, really treat themselves that week. So it was kind of interesting. How different people attack that ride, but every year, everybody who does it, they're always looking forward to it. And I've had conversations about Ragbri already at the bike shop.
Yeah, and for folks who've never heard of it, it's Ragbrai, Ragbri, and it's a very famous ride. A lot of people know it. It's super fun. You don't have to be a hardcore cyclist to do it, although it does look pretty challenging. Looks like it's averaging somewhere between like 60 and 80 miles a day.
Like I know people that just will sometimes just go out and do a couple of days. They don't necessarily commit to the whole week, but they'll maybe go ride for a couple of. I don't know exactly how that works. If they just jump in and do the day, or if they're registering, or they have day of registration just for the day. But I've known a lot of people that have gone out there just to maybe ride with some friends for a day or two, and not necessarily the whole week.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. I'm definitely like a whole week kind of guy, but but one of these days I want to do it. I think that would be a lot of fun, and especially if you get like a group, bring like all your best friends and just get away for the week and camp and drink some beers and just like ride bikes. Like, it sounds super fun. And you'll probably come back in pretty good shape. Like, that's a lot of miles.
Yeah, it's certainly a classic Midwest ride. I know we have people listening to us over in Europe, so if you ever want to come down and experience America at its America and American cycling culture, like every type of American cyclist, right, from your bike racer all the way to your mom, pa, and kids, like that would be, I would say that would probably be a real good example of it. You go get a real good taste, a good slice of American life there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, the other thing here too that I just think is really cool is that it survived. It's been around for a long time. I don't know how many years, but I've heard about it for like a long time. And I always remember hearing this word ragbri. I'm like, what the hell's ragbri? And then I like checked it out.
As long as I've been in a bike shop, that ragbri's been there. It's been one of those rides that people have been going off to do. So, good for ragbri.
Yeah, exactly. So folks want to check it out. And then just the last thing I just thought was interesting. So kind of industry story, I guess. So maybe you saw it, Joe, but the bike company Giant, which I believe is one of the world's largest because they make like a bajillion bikes and all kinds of bikes, but they actually had a really great quarter, financial quarter. So their revenues were up 12.5% for full year 2022, despite inventory challenges. So that includes not just e-bikes, but high-end bikes. So high-end road bikes. So that's very, I mean, any company would love to be up 12.5% for the year. So to have like a bike company, especially like for high-end bikes, like I found that pretty surprising. Like e-bikes, I would have guessed, or like hybrids or entry mid-level maybe, but these like high-end road bikes, like that's pretty cool. So nice to hear some good industry news. I know that there's just like a huge oversupply, as we've talked about, just so many bikes out there right now. So that was some good news. I was kind of happy to see that.
Yeah, I think we'll see. After this, we'll see after this year. I mean, let's see what the spring. Let's see what the spring and early summer looks like. But I think like we talked about before, people have been coming in to buy nice bikes. I was concerned about the cheaper bikes. And they're still definitely. I definitely haven't seen a lot of traffic for those $500 and $600 bikes, but I've had people coming in to buy the nicer bikes, and looking at $1,500 and up bicycles, and even had a couple of custom builds already, that I'm working on right now, and so that's been really, that's been really nice. But on the lower end stuff, kids bikes, things like that kind of entry level stuff, which fortunately I don't have a lot of. I also haven't had a lot of people coming in even asking about stuff, so we'll see. I think stores that maybe rely on or we're counting on selling a lot of that stuff or need to sell a lot of that stuff might be in a little bit more trouble.
Oh no, for sure. I was just glad to see one bright spot, especially with a massive company like Giant. I mean, they're freaking ginormous. Are they the globe's largest bike? They're definitely up there.
They make a lot of bikes for people.
Yeah, so, they do.
I think that's what kind of pushes them over the top. They were, and I don't sell the brand at the shop, but I believe, part of their marketing towards bicycle shops has been that they're not going to, I think they're starting to lean into like not competing with the independent bicycle dealer, like not having this online, not opening their own stores concept, where they want to be like the bike shop's friend. And so I think that they've gained a lot of favor with, and they've been able to gain like new dealers, shops that maybe had not even thought about selling Giant in the past, that way, and maybe and people maybe ditching Specialized and Trek in favor of Giant now. So that could be a part of it. I don't know. I haven't looked deep into it, but I know just from conversations that I've had with people and in some passing comments that I think that's there's been a kind of a new interest in bike shops picking up the Giant brand. So that might have something to do with all of that, especially if that was all going down last quarter. The last quarter of last year. That might be a result of some of that. So
yeah. So that was cool. And then finally, Joe, this is a little bit of an interesting one. So got a news story here. The lead goes like this: electric bikes have been finding favor in a growing number of communities, from hunters to surfers and even soldiers. E-bikes and their low-cost, far-reaching transportation options have permeated a surprising number of different groups and use cases. The latest community adopting e-bikes en masse may be even more of a surprise. Do you want to take a guess, Joe, what community this story might be about? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Like a recreational community or like an actual community of people?
Like an actual community of people.
Is it the Amish?
Yeah, did you hear about this?
No, but I remember at the Cabda show, I mentioned how I caught the Amish test riding electric bikes in the corner.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I missed that. There was a little group of Amish. There were a lot of Amish. There's always a lot of Amish at the Midwest Camber show, the Cabda show.
Yeah.
They, because they're coming in from Indiana and Ohio.
I love it.
But there was a little group quietly, little group of Amish people quietly playing with electric bikes in a corner and test riding them, and it was just we didn't know if they were Mennonite or they were Amish. But they were there, they were there. And I know from my bike reps that deal with the Amish, they've got pretty strong, they're strong they got a strong bike game, in the Midwest, so
yeah.
So really, so what does it go on to talk about?
So this is from electrek.co.
Okay.
As the website. So they talk about the Amish. The Amish communities, most often known for their black buggies pulled by horses, have been increasingly turning to electric bikes as an alternative form of transportation. But how could that be? It's the common misconception that Amish communities entirely shun electricity and technology. Rather, each Amish church and its surrounding community decides its own rules regarding how much technology is integrated into daily life.
Huh.
There is no single Amish doctrine or set of regulations, since these rules are decided at the individual community level. That means electric bicycles, which have become a much lower impact solution than cars, are booming in many Amish communities. David Mullet, gotta love the name.
Yeah.
A member of the Old Order Amish Church and the owner of e-bikes of Holmes County, I don't know where that is, a popular bicycle shop in a heavily Amish populated area of Ohio, there you go, explained that e-bikes are simply faster and easier than horses.
Oh, man. Oh, come on, man.
It's a lot quicker. Here's the pull quote. It's a lot quicker to jump on your bike and go into town than it is to bring your horse into the barn, harness it to the buggy and go. It's a lot quicker and you travel faster too. And there's some really cool pictures of apparently Amish people on electric scooters. Many Amish are permitted to ride in cars that they don't own or operate themselves, which means it can be common to hire a driver for specific trips, but the practice can become expensive, as anyone who uses Uber regularly knows. E-bikes have thus become an effective solution, and it goes on and on. So people can read that if they want. There's some cool photos there too. Yeah, that I thought that was kind of cool. I actually also believe that it was widely the case that they don't, allow technology, but that was I didn't know that. It's all individual, so that's good to know.
It's kind of history repeating itself. The bicycle replacing the horse. That's the Cycle Smithy logo. Mm-hmm. If you think about that logo, it's a horse and a bike, and that's what that represented, was the bicycle replacing the horse in Chicago.
There you go.
The bike replaced the horse, and then the car replaced the bike. As far as transportation here in the city.
Unfortunately,
yeah. But it's doing it again in Ohio with the Amish.
But there you go, Joe. There's your news roundup.
Very cool. I didn't know that about the. It's interesting to learn that about the Amish, and it makes sense now that I saw so many of them.
Yeah,
out there playing with.
I forgot you had mentioned that on the Cabda show. I forgot. People should go back and listen to that.
Yeah. Oh, well, cool. Hold on a second. Let me close the door on that. That was
Booyakasha.
Oh, there you
go. By the way, Joe, we talked a couple episodes ago about that big new launch from Cannondale, the Lab 71 or whatever it was called. have you heard? Have you had anyone ask? Have you had anyone put in an order? Any kind of follow up on that, or just all quiet on the Western Front?
It's still relatively quiet. I think that the cost of that bike is kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's pretty.
Yeah, I think I meant more like the lower price ones. Obviously, that one would be pretty insane, but I think it's like 15 grand, which is ridiculous. Yeah, but whatever.
The frame alone is like $6,000 just for a frame, because I went as far as investigating getting one for myself.
Whoa, look at you. No, I really meant to ask about the lower, more reasonable ones, which are down to like $5 grand, I think, which is still a lot, but
No, you know what, I've had a couple of conversations about them. Nobody really interested yet in buying one of them,
Just curious.
But my interest in them has been, personally at a shop level, like I am actually interested in getting back into that a little bit more. It's a part of the business that I wouldn't mind chasing a little bit again, that kind of high end, building rocket ships, like I say at the bike shop. I wouldn't mind building a couple of rocket ships like that. It's just
nice.
It's just kind of fun. I mean, I do like it. I realize what I don't like so much is like the concept of buying, just getting a $10,000 bike out of the box and building it, the way it comes out of the box. But the idea of getting a frame, as I was looking at some of the frames on the website, like that. The idea of doing that, of getting a frame again and then building something kind of cool, that sparked some interest in me. And then the obviously the availability of parts again, kind of going back to that, like the fact that I can order parts again, that I have a wheel builder. I have a couple of really good wheel builders now around the shop, and just kind of being able to put those guys to work. I had Tom, my new mechanic, was there building a couple of wheels over the weekend, and it was just so nice to, he was holding court, talking to people and building wheels all at the same time. For him, it's just second nature. He's able to string up a wheel and hold a conversation, and
that's nice.
And just talk to people about stuff while he's sitting there on a stool. It's like somebody knitting, and talking at the same time. And for a moment, I kind of sat in the background and I was just kind of watching this go down. And I'm like, wow, this is it. I'm like, this is cool. This feels bike shoppy right now.
Well, to tie it back to Cannondale real quick to finish up. So I'm looking at two bikes right now. I'm looking at the Cannondale Super 6 Evo 1. Which is not that high level, but still like has most of that good technology and still like a super sweet bike. So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at a Canyon Air Road, which is aero road bike. Those are the two I'm looking at. I've kind of narrowed it down to them. So I just have to kind of decide. The availability for the Super 6 it says in May. Now they were originally saying July, but the website now says May for that specific bike. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe that. I love the way Cannondales ride. I've never ridden a Cannondale I didn't love. Like I've ridden quite a few too. Been fortunate that way. So, but I also really like the Canyons. So I've ridden those too, and I like them as well. Definitely a little more rigid kind of a ride. So it's going to be like a different kind of thing. So I have to kind of decide which I want to go with. I think by the time I pull the trigger, it'll probably be a decision that'll answer itself for me, so to speak.
You're looking at the Super 6 Evo. You're right at 58, right?
Yeah.
Those, I can tell you, they'll be because I have visibility to it. The 58 will be available, mid to late May.
Okay.
At the moment, and they're not, and they are still available right now. I'd like to.
Whoa!
I believe I could probably place an order for one. So
can you do it now, live on the show? Or should we wait?
I don't know. You tell me, man. I can
All right, we'll talk offline. I want to know some details first.
Hold on a second. Let me see.
But that's exciting. Yeah, 58. It's a pretty bike. You just see that paint color? It's pretty, right?
I just have a picture of it on the B2B. It's like a photo. It's like a gray, right? Mystique gray.
Yeah, it's like a champagne-y kind of look almost. I think it's a really good looking bike, and it has the new SRAM Force, the brand new SRAM Force, which some people are saying is the bomb diggity, maybe the best group set ever made. I don't know. I haven't ridden it yet, but it looks super nice. So we'll see. We'll see. I really like Cannondales, man. They ride really nice. Really nice.
I was able to put one in a cart, Danny. That was a good
sugar. Oh man, we got to talk. We got to talk offline.
All right. Well, then we better get offline. I'll see you, Danny.
Always good to chat with you, Joe.
All right, man.
Ciao.